and welcome to episode 10. Have you stopped and looked around lately? Because you can see a change. You'll laugh later, but we're big enough to have a Taco Bell and a Wendy's now. I'm not gonna lie, it was surprising even to me to see the population had gone to 11,000 back in 2020. Hey, things happen while you're living your life. You stop paying attention. Please subscribe and like our channel. See you. We now have 2 huge high schools, double the amount of grade schools to serve the children of the new residents. What we don't have, however, are wider roads so that we can channel all the traffic. We have a traffic jam in South Lyon. The 15-minute parade has now turned into a 40-minute parade, which I love. The scouts and the dancers and the bands and the fire trucks give us a great show every year. Let's see what made our stars say, this isn't a small town anymore.
He did want people to come to this community. Yeah, I'm Drew Wallace, and almost every single person in the community of South Lyon would know Ted Wallace. I believe he was synonymous with Mr. South Lyon. He moved here when he was a little boy in the early 50s. He was the mayor on several occasions from 85 to 89, 2005 to 2009, 25-year teacher. We used to play playground football, actually. My dad was the quarterback, and he made sure everybody had a chance. And I realized how big of a person he was in the community when he passed. I swear a third of the town showed up, and it was really remarkable to see the love that he knew that 10 Mile was going to be developing even more and more. You can't stop growth.
This is not a small town anymore.
Our point in time was when the first McDonald's moved into town.
We said something's going to happen. A McDonald's is here.
Yeah, because as a kid, of course, I don't think they went into business until '63.
Yeah, why would they come here? I bet you thought.
So, we thought something's going to happen.
Yeah.
Something, because Brighton used to be much like South Lyon. They put the expressway in, it exploded.
yeah.
Novi was nothing.
Yeah.
I mean nothing.
Yeah.
But the second most important time,
Yeah.
I think, was when we got a second stop and go light. Because there was always one at Main Street that we would recall.
Aware of the size of our town? The last 20 years.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Oh my God.
When do you remember saying to yourself, okay, this isn't small anymore?
Oh, I don't know when. I think because I was from Detroit and he was from Ferndale. Those are major metropolises. And so no matter how South Lyon grew, it still seemed small. And because the people were just amazing.
Yeah.
Just amazing.
I mean, that's what brought us out here. Do you remember anything that made you say, South Lyon is not a small town anymore?
Yes. Driving down 10 Mile towards Novi. When we came out here, it was farms, horse farms, beautiful horse farms. And then they started building subdivisions, more and more and more. Then improve the roads. You could drive from here to Novi when we were, not see a car. Now you can't see the road because of the cars. But yeah, that's the main thing. The population grew just by leaps and bounds. We went from a small 600 student high school to 1,200 students in just a matter of a couple of years.
And now we're at 3,000 and
Something
plus.
like that, yeah. Two high school. When I came out here, there was no high school building. There was the Bartlett, and there was, when they built the one on 9 Mile. That was the first really good new high school. Then they built the one on 11 Mile.
Right.
And the last I heard, don't quote this, was they were looking at a third high school. In a very early, I mean, it could be 5 years down the road, yeah, because the population grew. Yeah, the same house that when we first started, the same one, and it's not a little village anymore.
What made me say that this is not a small town anymore? So it was in probably the mid-'80s. I shoveled the snow for half the downtown for years, and with my tractor. I plowed my way downtown plowed all of the sidewalks up and down, when all of a sudden my insurance company called me and said, Norm, you're going to have a little problem. You're the last person that has touched that sidewalk. So you're now going to be liable for somebody slip and fall. So my insurance company all of a sudden said, you can't do this anymore. So it ceased to be a small town at that
What
point.
made you say it's not a small town anymore?
Oh,
You want to go first?
traffic.
Oh.
Traffic and all the farms and the horse farms and stuff were just disappearing and turning into subdivisions.
Okay, Diana, what about you? Even though
For
you...
me, to me, it was when the newer high school was built out on 11 Mile Pontiac Trail, and the Kroger store went out on Pontiac Trail and 8 Mile. To me, it's like, oh.
So when you got rid of 1 out of 3 stores, are you less busy? Your kids are in college, you're grown and gone.
Yeah,
Are you have some free time?
No, Kroger, again, changed our life. We were in Ann Arbor. It was a closed A&P store, 26,000 square feet. They went out of business, and my dad and I went, they had 3 stores in Ann Arbor. We got the lease on that, took it over, ran it 10 years, profitable store. Oh my gosh, it was. So 10 years went by and they came to build a store right across the street. We lasted maybe a year.
Are you too busy to notice that South Lyon is now really grown? Okay.
But we were aware of it because we monitored the A&P store. Bush took it over and he's doing volume like you wouldn't believe.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, we're very happy with it.
Well, the numbers themselves.
Oh,
the 2020 surrounding South Lyon population and 11,000 in the town. In the town.
Yeah, I think, Cheryl, that this will continue for well past the time that I'm around. I hope that the city fathers can figure a way out to divert the traffic.
If you really are worried about traffic, which I think they should be.
Oh my gosh, it's just, yeah. And I'm home, I'm done.
Nothing's the same except the hotel, and that's been remodeled twice. I know on the corner where the trunk place is now, Grand Trunk. Okay, we used to go visit Santa Claus in there. It used to be an empty building. And then it was Kroger's after that.
And seeing the changes grow, being on the planning commission, and I always say that I got more out of that 5 years than I put into it, because I learned a lot about city government. I learned a lot about zoning and the subdivisions that have gone up. Oh my gosh.
Where are these 11,500 people living? And he goes, well, Cheryl, it's 4 square miles now.
So I think I had 156 people in my graduating class, 1968. By the way, I got my ring on for you.
Wow.
And when our oldest son Michael graduated, there were 600 and some kids in his graduating class. And when Brent, our younger son, graduated the next year in 2008, East had opened, so there were like 500 and some. And it's just to have the town have 2 high schools is amazing. It's a much bigger town than it was.
Yeah.
There are companies out there, a team that goes out and looks for locations. Really a little bit unnerving that they wanted to buy what I thought was a real stable thing for me. You may think it's great, but no, I want to stay here.
Well, yes. We'd like to give you a great price for this.
We're not small anymore.
I mean, based on the growth,
Right.
It's just unbelievable how fast the town grew once it started to grow.
Yeah, the growth is between us and Northville.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just filled in. It's just amazing.
Yeah, very much so. When is the last time you guys lived here? What year?
I retired in 05, I believe it was, or 06, and we moved up to Mackinac Island at that time. Yeah.
In that 12 to 15 years has just been nutso.
It just exploded, yeah. And I have to say, I mean, South Lyon is home. It always will be home.
Sure, yeah.
I will be buried, or what's left of me will end up in South Lyon.
Okay.
I just marvel at the fact that I taught school here for 27 years. I've lived here for 50 years. I can walk up and down the streets of South Lyon all day long and not see anybody that I've ever seen before. My daughter had some friends. She bought a house in Hazel Park.
Mm-hmm.
And when she told her friends she had come from South Lyon, why did you move away from there? Seen in South Lyon is houses. It's become, I think, a better community. It's still a very, very small town with a lot of people.
Yeah. You say it's not a small town anymore because you did arrive when it was small.
I know everybody, and I'd walk down the street and people, because my friend used to say, wait, you go to South Lyon with Sharon, you feel like you're on a float. Hi. But now, hardly anybody, you don't see anybody you know. You can go in all these different restaurants, these stores, come home in 20 minutes, whereas it used to take an hour to go to the grocery store just to get some milk because you saw everybody. Now it's like, you don't know anybody.
I know.
It's kind of sad.
It is. Yeah, it is. Like, is there something? Is there a feeling? Is there an actual...
With growth comes change.
I know.
You know, and that was the typical thing to me. You know, you expect certain things to change, and you know, and when I was growing up, everybody knew everybody. You know, and now, you know, when we moved back again, that was not the case. It was growing to the point where you didn't know everybody, when I was growing up, you know, if you did something wrong, before you got home, your folks knew about it. You know, but so that was all gone. Just the growth, you know, it was changing because there was good parts of closest and there were bad parts of closest. You know, I saw, and you tried to control it as much as you can in the right direction, but that didn't always happen.
No.
So.
Okay, when you were still living here, do you remember when you first said this is not a small town anymore?
You know, that was interesting that you asked that question. I was trying to think, probably to me, kept getting, you know, people were always mad because all these new timers are in town and moved in and they want to do this and that. Why can't they leave it alone? Blah, blah, blah. That never bothered me, or I don't think it did Gretchen either. We were happy. It was progress. Things were getting better.
We were happy for South Lyon.
Yeah.
That was growing.
But I think when the second high school became a reality, that whole time frame, that was huge.
I remember it being, I don't know where I was, and I was being introduced to people that had moved into town. It happened more than once where everyone knew the Phillips name because we had a business. But when people started saying, what's your name? Oh, there's a travel agency in town?
This is.
I know. It's the drive-through and the drive home, and I guess that's it. I was on the DDA, and, you know, there were items that told us that, you know, it takes people at least 3 to 5 years to start developing a relationship with the town, that if they've moved in, they're still using their doctors from Detroit. They're still using the grocery store. That's when it happened. It just, you know, it's just different.
So by the time ACO came in, that's kind of like your first nail in the coffin.
Right, yeah.
Or it's going to put the wolf at your back.
Yeah.
It's like, ooh. But don't you think that you've got 3 hardware stores, basically?
Right.
And I think the town can sustain them, don't you?
It can, and you know what? When South Lyon Lumber went out of business, they were out of business 10 months before Peters bought them. We couldn't even handle it. I mean, it was so stressful that the only way that we could have 2 hardware stores in town would be, and us be one of them, would be us to build a whole new big store. Yeah, so I'm telling you, it's better that all 3 stores stay here, or you know, well, someone might disagree if they really wanted to put a nice big double size store in or something.
And look at the, if just the town, just the 4 square miles has 11,000 people in it, the surrounding area has another 40.
Oh, yeah.
So those 50,000 people, they're not all running over to Walmart and Lowe's.
Right.
They're coming here.
Yeah.
As though the town itself was just crazy out of control in terms of growth.
Oh, boy. I guess what really hit me is when they started building around Centennial Farms. We were surrounded by all that farmland. I think that was what really bugged me.
that last field that was
Uh-huh.
all pumpkins.
Right.
Will all of these people swallow the town? Every time we have a spring, I go out and I go, oh my God, that sub is almost done.
Uh-huh.
They've almost built it out.
Yeah, well, on 10 Mile that's going up right outside of town, that was the latest one when I was there.
We drove to Novi for a basketball game,
Mm-hmm.
all the way to Novi. It's one sub after the other.
We used to have a car show every year, and it got to be big, real big. We'd get over 500 cars. We had sponsorship from GM, Ford Motor Company. We gave away motors. We're on school property, and there was a chuck hole, and Grandma stepped in the chuck hole and broke her ankle. Now, this show, we generate a lot of money, and we donated it to the fire department, to the ambulance, and then to some people that needed money. So the ambulance was there on site, so they rush her to St. Joe. They fix her ankle. I get a call from an attorney, her attorney, and he says, you know, she had insurance on her ankle, but it didn't cover the ambulance. So I thought, well, I'll go. You know, it was only, I think at the time it was $300. I go to the ambulance. I said, hey, Bill Backus, Cowtown Cruise, you know, you guys took a lady. I said, hey, could you cover the trip? Oh no, we can't do that. Her attorney threatens to sue all the board of directors for the Cowtown Cruise and the Spark Plug. That was the last car show we had.
Yeah. Walmart.
Wow.
So when I was growing up, my first paid job was working for John Canfield.
Okay.
Detasseling corn.
I did that.
I don't remember what time we started. I just remember going to Canfield's farm, which was on the site where Walmart currently is.
Oh, yes. Okay.
So he had a tractor that had these platforms that went out on either side, and he would drive through the field, and you would lean over and pull the tassels off the corn. He paid us $1.60 an hour. Anyway, they sold the farm when John and his wife were up in years, and you know, right there at that intersection of Milford Road and 96, which is where the farm was, all of a sudden, you know, those demographers, they study the population trends and decided this would be a good location for a Walmart. That's to me when we're no longer a small town. When Walmart comes to town, you're no longer itty bitty.
Coming up, what was your favorite spot and what is it today in our small town? Yes, you can't stop progress. Yes, there will be growing pains. We are, after all, 3 towns interacting with each other: New Hudson, Salem, South Lyon. Our 83 square mile school district binds us together. And we're surrounded by 2 major metro parks that offer endless outdoor fun. You can see why so many families come here. Join us next Friday, episode 11. Please subscribe and like our channel. See new episodes every Friday, only on YouTube. I feel like most of you know this by now, that I'm from a small town as well, and I miss my small town. I think that drove me to start this project about small towns. My sister would be the last one of our family to live in that small town, has moved away. So when my grandfather went there in 1910 to 2021, about 110 years, and there's no trace of our family in that small town. So